time for Reading Between the Words podcast, where you hear the story behind the book. You get to meet the author themselves and hear their story and the why for writing their book. Books of real life, stories that come to life. Fact or fiction, there is mystery, intrigue, and there is laughter. There may be books for business or how to overcome challenges, or who knows what the next book will be. Join us for another great book and guest right now.
Welcome to another great episode of Reading Between the Words, and my guest today is DJ. I'm so glad you're here, DJ.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really honored to be here.
Oh, thank you. I love your background, but I love that you write children's books. That's near to my heart. And but your children's books actually do more than just tell a story. Tell us why you write children's books.
Sure. Well, so I've had kids in my life, my whole life. They're very important to me, and I taught kindergarten for many, many years. And I was always looking for books that supported me with the values and how I can teach my kids, you know, the joy of being a good friend, or the importance of vocabulary. So when I have these emotions, like with my first book, Roman is bigger. He is bigger than mad. He is bigger than happy. He's bigger than scared. And so he's looking for that vocabulary that will help him better say what he means. And then the people around him can actually help him more because now
Oh,
they truly understand. I'm not just scared, I'm terrified, right? So
right.
there's a
Yeah,
difference. And
yeah, there
well,
is.
my two Roman books, I have two books about Roman. Roman is bigger, and then Roman is a bigger brother. And they
Oh,
both have lesson plans for teachers, homeschoolers, just parents
wow.
on how to better use the book to make it more meaningful for the kids and then and who they're working with.
That's awesome. So you have more than those two. I see it hiding
Yes.
there.
Oscar's True Friends.
Ah,
And Oscar is a fish in the ocean and he's having trouble making friends. And so in the end, he realizes that when I can help them understand their value and that I honor their value, we don't all have to be the same. In fact, that's not a good thing. Some friends are fast swimmers, some friends can puff up and scare away the bad guys, and all of these things. And so there's value in all of that. And so then at the end, they're able to say, oh, well, we need to watch out for each other because I have this skill and you have that skill. And but part of being a friend isn't just, waiting for someone to come and say, hey, hi. Sometimes it's exerting yourself and helping them see that you know and honor and value what they bring to the table.
yeah, absolutely. That's one thing I was talking with you earlier, and I
Yeah.
discussed with my 15-year-old granddaughter that, you may have a lot of friends where you came from. Now you're in a new school, but maybe
Hmm.
somebody needs you as their friend that, maybe you don't necessarily need to have a lot more friends, but somebody might be needing what you have and how you see
Hmm.
the world and how you can help them through something. So it's kind of more, I love your concept of finding value in others. I think that is so important. We need that throughout
Yeah.
our whole lives.
Yeah. Well, and then I've got a fourth book that we're just finishing up with the illustrator, and it's another Roman book.
Okay.
And it's so Roman does have a younger brother now. His name is Nico, and how they decide they want to be superheroes, but they find that you don't need a cape, you don't need a mask, you don't need to be able to fly. You just need to be able to do acts of service and to
Oh,
be able to look around you, whether you're at home or in your neighborhood or in your classroom. Um, there are opportunities all around to be of service and that you can be a superhero through that. So that'll be coming
fantastic.
out real soon.
Will that also have classroom activities in it too?
Yes, it will.
Yeah, I love
Yes.
that you have these available not only as a book, but that teachers can take these and use them
Mhm.
as part of their curriculum. Um, so tell us a little bit about your background.
Ah, well, um, I'm the oldest of seven children. I was a big sister at 14 months.
Oh,
And Yes, and so I've been around kids all my life. I have seven, or not seven. I'm the oldest of seven. I have five children of my own and 13 grandchildren.
Oh,
My husband and I together, we have 70 nieces and nephews.
wow.
Um, yeah, big family, big family. And then while I was living in Las Vegas, we lived in Vegas for 20 years. For 16 years, I worked as a parenting facilitator. That was my title for the Division of Family and Youth Services, where I went around all over the county and led workshops and taught classes and from baby care to nurturing families. That's Stephen Bavelick's program. Back in Control. That's Gregory Bodenhammer's program. I'm, um, registered in all of those. And then I also did a divorce parenting class, which is funny because March will be my 48th wedding anniversary. But but it was actually court ordered. So if you were going through a divorce in Clark County, you had to take my class.
Oh,
So
wow. That's interesting.
yeah, yeah. I also got to teach in several homeless shelters to women's prisons. So just a wide variety of um, you know, work and experience. And then I taught for 20 years. So some of that overlap. Teachers sometimes need a summer job and evening job and and so some of that overlap. But yeah, so I have over 20 years of classroom experience as well, working mostly in inner city, the lowest income schools in the district, which was where my heart was.
That's awesome. I love that you mentioned talking with women in prison. I know
Mhm.
that here in Austin, Texas area, I'm just going to say it that way, there is a ministry that helps women who have children,
Mhm.
and they get a book and they can read that book to their child on certain days when they get their kids.
Yeah.
And one lady had said that nobody had ever written or ever read a book to her as a child, and she didn't know how to read a book to her child. So through this program, she has this book, and they kind of teach you a little bit about what to do. I mean, if you've never done
Yeah.
it, it might
Hmm.
sound ridiculous to those of us who have, but it's not. I mean, this is it's like, how do you read a book to somebody,
Hmm.
and there's a skill in reading a book, and it's an
Hmm.
easy skill to learn. And I think what a fabulous thing to be able to do, that when they're reading, but they get to give the joy of reading to their own children, and they get that time to bond with their
Yeah.
child. uh,
Yeah.
it's
So
so important.
important. And um so it was really interesting that was part of my class was it was a 6 week class, and I'd redo it, new kids would come in, the women will come in and stuff. But part of that was me showing them how to read to their kids. So when their kids would come on visit day. So one of the prisons, they were there for years and years. And so they would have visit days, and sometimes it would just be a phone call. And so, we talk about we can get a book to the child and a book to you. So they're turning the pages at the same time
Lovely.
on the phone. And so you can have some of that experience. And then the other one was for women who were getting it out 18 months or less. So they were preparing to get out. And what was really fun was a couple of times I ran into some of my students out in the open, and they were so excited to introduce me to their kids. And I wouldn't recognize them because you look very different when you're in prison than when you're
Yes.
out. And they'd be like, "No, I was this and this." I'm like, for you. And they want to introduce me to their children. And I had one little mom, she said, "This is the lady who taught me how to be a good mommy."
Oh, awesome.
That just
Yes. Right there. Yeah.
yeah. And what was fun was one of my kids was with me.
Oh,
And
good.
so they're like, "Oh, really?"
Okay, Mom. Get a little different perspective of you there. That
So
is,
true.
that's interesting you said that. My daughter-in-law, when she had her first son, and they lived with us for a while, it's like
Mhm.
she didn't know how to play with him. And and it's like, why would you? The world is so different. And And so we would just do different things together, and I would show her how she can interact with him, because it's actually
Yeah.
interacting, it's learning their language. Of course, with her second one, it was really no big deal. And now the kids are in college or just about in college,
Yeah.
both of them. But it was interesting because I'd never seen anybody who didn't know how to interact with their children. And I had heard of it, but I just didn't think that much of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And it was like, but it's very simple things. It's nothing
It
dramatic that you
is.
have to change or anything like that. It's looking at them, what they're engaged in, and even when they're really little, what do they pay attention to? What do they like to hear? Um,
Hmm.
and it's quite fascinating. I
Yeah.
love
Well,
seeing
and
that
that's part of, so
journey.
I'm also a parent coach.
Oh,
And that's exactly what I do is I help them with the little ones. I focus because I am an early childhood specialist, and so my focus is on from birth to age 8. But that's part of exactly what I do is helping parents understand those missing pieces, from their
mhm.
old childhood. I'm not sure how to read a book to my kid. I don't know how to quit yelling at my kid. I don't know how to sit down and talk to my child as I'm enforcing boundaries rather than, putting up putting up, and then finally they've broken your last straw, and then you lose it,
Right.
and so that's so fun that you brought that up because that is a huge part of there it is, Imperfect Heroes. That's the name of my company.
I love that, imperfect heroes, and they are. Us
Yeah.
parents, or even
Yeah.
grandparents, go through things.
Yeah.
And when you have teenagers, there's a whole nother world. They're changing. They don't want to be this little
Mhm.
kid anymore, but they're not ready to be an adult on their own. I was just thinking about the difference between when my grandparents were growing up and now my grandkids are growing up. And my grandparents growing up, they had to be adults right away. There
Mhm.
was no, you get to just be a kid and play, and you just get to be teenager. I mean, there was no teenage years. By the time you reached that age, you already knew how to run a business, whether it was
Yeah.
on the farm or in the home
Yeah.
or something else. And and we have produced children that don't know how to communicate with each other. They don't know what
Right.
to do without their cell phone. A young friend of mine is doing this. Um, it's it's like taking a break from digital entertainment, not scrolling, not looking through the YouTubes, not doing all of that, and
Mhm.
actually going out and talking to people. And he was saying, what a change for good that it has been already.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, yeah, because now you're actually interacting with people. You need to get
Mhm.
out. And sometimes
Mhm.
it's scary. You don't know how to do that. You don't know how to reach people where they are. But you
Mhm.
start one by seeing what they're interested in. What kind of things do they like
Exactly.
to do? Yeah,
Exactly. Well, and honoring the knowledge that they have that you maybe don't.
right.
So, with my kids, they're all grown up, have kids of their own, and with my grandkids, they understand things technologically that I'm like, what? You know? And so, but it's an honoring thing when you honor that, hey, you know something that maybe I don't. And our teenagers really need that support
Yes.
and that value. And so to say, hey, buddy, can you come help me figure this website out or this thing out or I don't know, and then they come in, or I would have some restrictions on how much gaming is going on, but
Right.
gaming is a huge part of life now. It's just
Yes,
it.
it is.
And so why not find out the games that they're on that they love and sit down and play with them? My son um, does that with his kids. He's got a 13-year-old and then a 19-year-old, and and they all play together, and it's
Right.
so much fun too when I'll go over and visit and I'll see the two boys are playing together on that. And so there are
Right.
ways to work around it. I think if you cut it all off, it's kind of like cutting off all sugar. Then your kids are going to crave it whenever they go somewhere else that allows sugar, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's going to be the same thing with technology. We need to give them the tools now to be able to use it wisely
Yeah.
But it cracks me up when you see kids sitting in the same room and texting, not talking, but they're texting each other who's sitting
Yes.
across the room from them.
Yeah, it's a different communication. And I
Yeah,
noticed with a grandchild living with us, the phone is there all the time. And it's like, I am so glad my kids
yeah,
were not my kids during that time,
yeah,
growing up, that they didn't have that distraction. And it is a distraction. It can be a good thing to have too. I love that she talks with her friends and they share things, and that, since her mom's deployed overseas, she talks with her
oh
mom.
wow,
They get to share things, and that's wonderful. But there is also a limit to that. So if you're always on your phone, and then you're always, because I always play games with my grandkids, I learn from them how to play Minecraft,
hmm,
and some of these different games. Love Dr. Brain. That was absolute favorite even of my kids. I don't even know if you can get it anywhere anymore, but
well, they had it,
they don't have CDs in your laptops anymore. So
no,
no,
no, no,
yeah,
it's all got to be downloaded and streamed.
yeah, yeah. But it's I do notice that she's like, I'd really like to just go do something. So this weekend, her and Grandpa were outside, building rooms in the barn and tearing out things. And she learned to drive the tractor, and no one drives with a clutch anymore. So that was a really
Right,
unique experience for her to learn. This is a clutch. This is what it does. This is its purpose, and this is how you use it.
yeah,
And so that was really fantastic. Um,
yeah,
but there's a lot of things that you can still do. I mean, she was learning how to make different stitches to sew. So if you have a rip in your clothes or something, you need to fix it real
yeah,
quick. She plans on being a paleontologist. She's going to be out in the field, so
sure,
she's going to have to learn how to take care of herself and do some of these things while she's out there. Um,
yeah,
Not
yeah,
everybody has to learn every skill there is. I mean, that would just be impossible. But think about what you want as a career, or things that you would like to do later in life, even if it's not a career, it's just something you'd like to do. What skills will you need to use for that,
yeah,
and go from there?
right,
I love the games where they're actually teaching you things. That show you how to navigate around situations, that make you stop and think what would be the best strategy for this. Those are really great. I mean, you got to have just your fun games too, but it's great to have
yeah,
the strategy, and then to
yeah,
see how they think and how they come up with ways that I never would have ever thought of. And it's
yeah.
it's just brilliant.
It is. It is. And another thing too is it works a different part of your brain when you're
Yes,
doing a video game versus a board game.
right.
Both are valid and important. And so taking the time to have some of those basic, I found we were up. I have a son that lives in Northern California, and it was a little before Christmas. We were there visit. Oh, it was Thanksgiving. And we were there visiting, and there was a Christmas night at one of the towns, and there was a shop that had all the old games, and I found Tiddlywinks.
Oh my goodness.
Tiddlywinks. Like, you don't know it. Most people who are listening do not know what that is, but it's just a fun game where you're flipping things into a cup, and
Oh
and
yeah.
it's all fun. And when I got that out with my kids, they got so competitive, and they were so excited to get it and get it in. And so there are all these different things
I
that you
love
can
that.
do. And two, giving them life skills. So it used to be, I'm old, I understand. But when I was in junior high in Los Angeles, I grew up in Los Angeles, I had to take a sewing class, and I
Hmm.
had to take a nutrition class, and I had to take all of these different classes, and by virtue of my gender. And then the boys were taking wood shop and auto shop and welding and
Oh
all those things.
yeah.
And those skills. So my husband, we're very close. He's a year ahead of me in school. And I'll tell you, he can fix pretty much anything, but he's
Mhm.
built on those skills, and that gave him the
Yes.
foundation, of how to do things. And I'm amazed at how he something comes breaks down. I'm like, Russ, and he's like, oh, we'll fix it. We need a
Yeah.
new one. Now we'll just fix it. And there's
Yeah.
value in even when I was teaching kindergarten, I would go like to the Goodwill or I don't know, St. Vincent's or Desert Industries, any of those. And you can get, I would get appliances and cut the cord off that had tools, and that was one of our centers in my classroom, was they could go in and take apart a toaster and see how it works, and can you put it back together, and that was a big challenge, and they would team up with each other, and the boys and the girls
Yeah,
loved doing that. And they're
absolutely.
not getting that a lot in school anymore, not much at all. So it's up to us, mom and dad, and it's okay to have those kinds of things where you can go and do that and give them tools and let them mess around and play with it and
Right.
see how it works. And then
Yes.
you're um, bringing in some curiosities that they might not have had otherwise. And,
Right.
and don't just leave it to them, talk to them, go in and do it with them, and sometimes they may want to just work on their own, but sometimes, you know,
Yeah, they need a little
especially when they're getting
guidance.
started. This is how you
Right.
use the screwdriver.
That's
This is
right.
a wrench.
Yes, my grandson likes doing woodwork, but if you don't have the skills to help him, you don't know what to do. So they have a neighbor who's really good at woodworking.
Yeah,
So he gets to go over there and learn from
yeah,
him. So look around your neighborhood.
yeah,
That's one of the things we need to do. We do need to get to know who our neighbors are and what their skills are. And it doesn't have to be the neighbor in the next house. It can be neighbor in the grocery store, neighbor in the church, something like
yeah,
that. Yeah, so it's good to have someone who can help apprentice. Really great example too. My grandson in college is looking at different careers, and as he's in college, he goes, I do not want to spend my whole time behind the desk. I want to actually be able to go in there and work on the machine. So he's talking to his grandfather about that because it's the
mhm,
same kind of work. And it's like, so what do I need to do? And it's actually a really good thing because one thing that's being noticed is as these young men and women are coming out of college, they have all the book knowledge, but they have no idea how to apply it to an actual tool
yeah,
to their career. And they expect somebody else to do it. And it's like, you do it. Well, it's not my job. I don't know how to do it. And they don't want to say they don't know how to do it because it makes them feel like
yeah,
they're dumb, and they're not dumb. Skills are skills. Skills are learned. And the only way to learn is to go about it. So find somebody who knows what to do, but learn
yeah,
from them.
yeah. And if you can't find anybody, there's always YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube has so many, but you need to be careful looking through there. You need
Yeah.
to see
Oh, yeah.
what the other comments are on it because
Right.
um sometimes there's people who just have things up there and they do it and it's like, well, it might have worked for a few minutes, but it's not going
Yeah.
to last very long.
I would always go like to the manufacturer. So we're city folk.
Yeah.
We've lived in LA and Las Vegas and Salt Lake and Denver. And then we suddenly moved to Chester, which has 300 people.
Oh
And we
my.
think we've got all this land. We've got 2 acres, and they laugh at us because they've got like 400 acres, but
Yeah.
2 acres is plenty for us. And Russell got a tractor. He's so fun
Nice.
looking at him out and doing his little tractor stuff. But so he went to the manufacturer sites of the tractor that we bought,
Right.
and they have all of these how-to,
Yeah.
videos
Yes.
and how to do, change. She's got I don't know what all these things are, an auger and I don't know, a bunch of different attachments. And so, you can use that too. Even if you have a
Yeah.
toaster and you're trying to take it apart and put it together, go to Hamilton Beach or whoever made your toaster, put
Right.
that in.
And see what they,
And those
yeah.
are pretty good resources and accurate resources. So
Right.
knowing where to go for help, you brought up such a good point with neighbors, and stuff. We have a new, we're out in the middle of nowhere. We're slowly getting a neighbor here and there. And we've got a neighbor that's about a half a mile away. Excuse me, a half a mile away. And he just moved in. He's got a thing to put your car up high and work
Oh,
on it from
nice.
underneath. And
Oh,
everybody, everybody's so excited.
that is, it's much better than laying on the ground.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so I love the idea, and there's a great combination of
Mhm.
using your own knowledge and, or even finding out, researching it with your child,
Yes.
or getting neighbors, getting relatives, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, building that family tie, and connection is also, it's a great way to do it.
That reminds me, when I was young, um, we had a neighbor whose parents would tell them every time, if they don't know a word or that's new to them, is so sorry about that. The cat was climbing the screen because it's outside and the dog's going crazy. Okay,
That's
that's enough.
hysterical.
That's enough. But it would be if they didn't understand a word, it was go look it up in the dictionary. I'm not going to tell you what it means. And the reason is I can tell you, but you're going to forget it. If you
Mhm,
actually have to go look it up yourself, because you're researching it,
mhm.
your mind is focused on it, you're going to remember it better. And better yet, they would write it down because there's a connection between the brain and the paper.
Yes.
So when you write it down, it's going to stick in there better.
Yeah.
And
And you
and it
bring up
was
a really good point because they've also found a connection when, we do a lot of things online, books online and stuff like that. But there's a difference between reading and holding a book, turning the pages. The
Mhm.
brain experiences differently. And research has found that they actually retain more of what they're learning when they have a book that
Yes,
they're going through rather than the online. And the online experience is common and valid, and that's there, but there's also a valid experience in having that book and turning the pages.
absolutely, absolutely. Especially when they're younger, because
Yes.
everything is tactile. They engage all of their senses in it then too. One of the things when I sign my children's books is I put enjoy your creative imagination,
Ah,
because they need to let that imagination go, and it's creation. And somebody says, oh, that's just, we need to be studious, we're not daydreamers or anything. And it's like, well, somebody had to be a daydreamer that came up with Velcro. Somebody had to be a daydreamer
right.
that came up with dryer sheets. Think of all the things that we have. Somebody had to be daydreaming about something like that. And that's where that
Someone had a daydream to get us
imagination
to the
comes
moon.
in. Oh, yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean? So small
absolutely.
things and big things. It
Yes.
all comes from a dream
Yep.
and
And
curiosity.
somebody thought of something and it's like, well, I wonder how that would work. There goes the imagination, and the creation process comes in. So I love that we've had this great conversation. I would love for it to keep going on, but I know our audience and our listeners and our viewers really want to know, how do they get a hold of your books, and how can they get in touch with you?
Oh, thank you. Well, pretty much anywhere you buy books online, you'll find me. I have an author's page on Amazon. So if you just look up DJ Stutz, it'll pull up my books. And so that makes it easy. If you're in like the Northwest area, and you have a group that wanted me to come in and like a school or something, do an author's thing, I've done those. They're so much fun. But if you want to get a hold of me, you can always get me at DJ Stutz, Stutz, at imperfectheroes.net. And you can ask me any questions about my books, about my coaching, what's coming up, where can you find me, where am I speaking next? And I will be more than happy to engage with you there.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for your wonderful books, for taking that first steps, like, do I really want to write a children's book? And you did. You did.
I
And
did.
now you have more. That's just amazing. So if you'd like to learn more about her, go to her website. You can also find her on wisdomonthefrontporch.com. If you like this episode, be sure and share it with others. Give us a 5-star rating. And thank you so much for being in our audience and sitting on our front porch while we're discussing these new books. And we'll see you next time on Wisdom on the Front Porch, reading between the words. Thank you, DJ.
Thank you.
I hope today's conversation on reading between the words gave you a glimpse into the heart behind the book and sparked something new for your life or business.
Thank you, my Front Porch friends and neighbors, for pulling up a chair with me and my guest today on Wisdom on the Front Porch. Now, if you've got value from this conversation, would you do me a favor? Leave a quick review Then share it with someone you know who could use some inspiration. It helps more friends find their seat on the porch. And hey, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss what's next. Until then, keep the porch light on for new wisdom every time you show up. Your seat's always here for you on the porch.